This is episode 81 of the Fire Protection Podcast, powered by InspectPoint. Today, my guest is Glen Tipton from BuildOps. BuildOps is a software platform for a variety of different construction trades, but we specifically focused on fire, life, and safety today. But BuildOps has had a tremendous story over the last 5 or so years of growing through a variety of different trades, but also hitting a $1 billion unicorn valuation earlier this spring. So it's exciting to see what they're doing in bringing all sides of construction together, from design to the install, to the project management, to the CRM and sales side, and blending that into the inspection and service side where we sit, right, at InspectPoint, and how they really value the fire, life, and safety trade and see a big need there of bringing the install and the service side together. So it's great to learn Glen's background and what he's done at BuildOps and some of their user conferences over the years. That was kind of fun toward the end. With this podcast, again, learn a little bit more about BuildOps, but we have aligned with them on a partnership, and we do have an integration coming down the line with BuildOps and InspectPoint. Later in June 24th, we are doing a full webinar on that full workflow to see the power of both platforms together. So I highly recommend signing up for that, checking it out. And again, thanks for all the listenership, and onto the podcast. Thanks. All right, we are live. Glen, how are you doing today?
Great to see you.
How's the weather out in Boise?
Beautiful. No complaints, especially coming from Texas, where it's hot as could be. So it's nice to have the seasons here.
Yeah, I don't understand. We have a lot of people down in Florida and Texas, and they don't seem, they're always gloating in the wintertime, but you don't hear from them in the summer.
No. No, they're all inside soaking up the AC. You also don't get the nice winter activities there. At least here when it snows, I can go out and I can make some turns on the mountain.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks for coming on the Fire Protection Podcast today. Been wanting to have you on and BuildOps for a while, and just I've seen the obviously more recent news this spring with the great unicorn status of hitting $1 billion mark, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself and the company kind of to the Fire Protection Podcast and the fire protection world.
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead our solution engineering team over here. We're the technical counterparts on the pre-sale side. BuildOps, for anybody listening that hasn't become familiar with us, we are a field service management platform and a project management platform together. And the whole idea is that folks can go out and they can do the install on a new construction project. And when that project is finished, they're turning that over to a inspection preventive maintenance team that manages the life cycle of that building from till its death, right? Yep. Or whatever. So
yep. No, that's great. I mean, there has been, I've been in the industry for a little over 20 years at this point, and the install side of fire protection has always been huge, right? And really over the last 10 to 12, that's where that service piece and inspection piece, which drives the service, has become more valuable, right? So the install's always been there, and the service has too. It's just there's more focus on it because it's recurring revenue and all that. But there's been nothing really to blend both sides of the house together, right? And that's not just in fire, but all different trades, right? I haven't, you guys are one of the first to kind of blend that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's where everything starts, right? It's where you're going to have your submittals. It's going to be where you have your design documents. And, it makes sense for the project manager before they leave that job to be your salesperson to say, hey, while I'm turning over closeout documents to you, why don't we go ahead and set you up for inspections and maintenance and everything that comes after the install. That's just step one,
Yep. Yep. So on the install side of it, like obviously you have the design. I'm super familiar with that. SpecPoint just made a nice acquisition with the fire alarm design platform. But nothing obviously that, after the design becomes the project management. What are the kind of key components of like your project management suite, or just in general of like what that team is looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it through the lens where we're hyper focused on the self-performing trades, really MEP, fire life safety. We have some overhead door, things like that. But the idea is you're going to come in, you're going to do your full document control, your critical path method scheduling, cost loaded, resource loaded, critical path method scheduling, full job costing, drawing management, forecasting. I mean, you name it, it's a full blown install, new construction suite of tools for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I guess in turn with that, like if you're doing forecasting, right? Is there estimation or CRM? Because CRM's obviously big with any company, right? Trying to get these projects also on the service side of that. So, is there CRM pieces as well?
There's a CRM piece. So your estimators can create opportunities. Obviously, track that through the pre-con process, and then turn that over to the project management teams. There's not really estimating at this time. Like we're not going to do your full, on-screen takeoff and your right for your takeoff process, but we will track the opportunity. We'll track your activities. That converts into a new project. Once you win that project, you run the project to finish, and then you're flipping that thing over into maintenance and inspections.
Gotcha. So this is just, I just thought of this in general. So on an install, so I know the fire protection side pretty well and sold material to mainly the install side of things. And talk to the estimators, designers, and project managers. Are the fitters or the technicians in the field doing the install? Have they converted to more mobile, or are they still pretty manual process in general?
We still want those guys to focus on doing what they do best, turning wrenches and getting things installed. But we do enable them with tools like, obviously taking photos, doing their daily reports. We support time and material also. So if you're out there logging, equipment, labor, material against that job, we're documenting that. And then obviously that can transfer onto your payment applications and things of that nature.
Yeah, for cost tracking for that project, probably pretty critical to do that. And I just remember in the world of install, it's like you just get random, obviously purchase orders, and then there's a cost overrun, and all of a sudden the contractor's upside down on the project, right?
Yeah. Well, and from a manpower perspective, it's really big too, because we have full manpower planning. I mean, again, think about all these companies that have these kind of siloed construction teams from their inspection teams, even though sometimes they're borrowing manpower back and forth. So you might be on a construction management platform and you might be on a field service management platform, but then that manpower is not talking back and forth, and it's incredibly challenging to manage that manpower. So we've obviously consolidated that into one platform where you can see your labor for any upcoming inspections and your labor for all your upcoming projects. And it just allows you that control over a project that you really haven't had historically from a technology provider. We can now give you insight into that. And with that being really your biggest variable on any project that can tank it for you as a self-performing contractor, it's so powerful to have that in one place.
Yeah, it is. All that labor or all that manpower management is kind of critical, with the labor problem being in the blue collar trades, right, being such an issue, and how do you manage that? And usually the service inspection side is a little bit more, they need to know the code a little bit more, right? And there's a little bit more they need to know, I feel like, at least from the fire life and safety side versus the install. And how does that blend, and how do you manage that with the problem of not enough technicians being an issue? So,
Yeah, big time.
I mean, do you guys see that in all trades, or is there anyone that specifically stands out?
I mean, I would say fire life safety is the big one too. I mean,
Okay.
because there's so much regulation behind it all, it's really, really important from that side. I mean, the install guys, really they're working from a set of drawings most of the time. They're not necessarily, I don't know. I mean, they're not putting as much thought, I think, into, like I said, the regulation side of things. I would say it's heaviest in fire life safety for sure.
Yeah, it's we always call it a codified industry, where it's different than um, mechanical, plumbing, electrical. You got a little bit, but it's mainly on the install. Um, I guess, how do those, MEP is always looked at, right? That's the one we always compare ourselves to on the fire side. Um, and it seems like the MEP trades are a little bit of ahead of fire, and maybe that's because it's a codified industry and we have to follow the compliance it's pretty strict, right? Are there things that MEP companies that are doing that, I don't know, that's kind of innovative and kind of pushing the envelope different than fire life safety?
I don't know if I'd necessarily say different. I think there's a lot of similarities, to be honest. I mean, we're seeing a lot with the like IoT stuff.
Yep.
Wanting to integrate that over to automate jobs and dispatches and inspections and things of that nature. That I am seeing a lot more of that on the MEP side than I am with fire life safety. But I know it's there with fire life safety too. Kind of triggered automated IoT warnings and
Yep.
things of that nature.
Trying to get better, but that's a whole problem too, because sometimes it has to be listed or approved by the authority and in the code. So it's like this whole chicken and the egg thing, versus, an AC unit, right? Or if it's hooked to a Google Nest or whatever, smart thermostat, that necessarily doesn't have to it has to follow code, but not like, not a fire life safety code, right?
Sure. And really, a lot of times on the MEP side, it's more around like comfort scores and, what's the variation in your degree, in your temperature or your relative humidity, right? There's like a lot of little triggers like that can trigger different responses, obviously.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not necessarily as much code based as it is like comfort based and,
Sure.
Things like that.
Yeah, I've noticed just residentially, like, when I have a HVAC or plumber come out, right? They're now, 10 years ago, they weren't equipped with technology. Now all of them have, essentially an app in hand, and it's not even codified, right? It's more of the comfort, and they're essentially doing everything right there in the field, even invoicing it, right? It's kind of wild how it's changed over the last 10 years.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, getting, you have the install side, you have the design side, you have the install side, you have the project management suite. Where does that, so it all translates over to the service side. Do you see a trend of, it doesn't matter what trade, it could be MEP, it could be fire, it could be door, right? Are contractors or just the industries pushing more to that contracted service once an install is done? Or is it, as soon as the install is done, I'm off, right?
I mean, everybody wants that recurring revenue. So, in most of the people that I speak with on a day-to-day basis, everybody wants to grow that side of their business, that service side. So, I think, if you were to go look at the top ENR contractors around the world, whether it's MEP or fire life safety, a lot of them are going to hit that list by performing large install projects, large new construction projects. But obviously, there's so much risk that goes into a new construction project that, and again, we talked about the labor shortage and how difficult it is to keep good, labor, good labor on your team. And then obviously margins are also shrinking too, with everything happening in the economy and whatnot. So there's so much risk on the new construction side that it makes sense. Why don't you go out and sell that? Like, you can recover from a bad project too if you have a recurring revenue from, for the next 10, 15 years, whatever. So yeah, everyone I speak to is really wanting to grow that side of their business. I think historically there hasn't been a great way for folks to do that though. So it's like, I think most of the people that I talk to, they want to grow that side. They don't know how, and they don't know how to necessarily manage it the right way. And so I think that's something, again, being at BuildOps, it's kind of been our secret sauce on like what's contributed to so much of our success is that ability to run that project, have visibility, flip it into a service inspection agreement, something like that, and get that recurring revenue, and then manage to that too. So have that kind of granularity where you can actually understand, is the juice worth the squeeze? Where am I winning? Where am I losing on each of these agreements, inspection agreements, preventive maintenance, doesn't matter. There's finally a solution out there that's giving them that ability to do that.
Yeah. I think, having that CRM, is going to drive the sales for the install, but also the service, but then managing both the recurring revenue and the install all in one kind of dashboard and platform, right? It's going to help from that install conversion over to that service. And that the recurring revenue from the service and inspection is going to keep the lights on, right? No matter what the economy's doing. And we've seen the large recurring revenue model companies are at the top now, right? Their valuations much higher than they used to be, where it was traditionally all install. And now, luckily enough, in the fire and life safety industry, it's code, and that doesn't, you don't necessarily have to maintain your cooling or heat, right? You could probably go a year, but with fire life and safety, you have to do it, right? Per the insurer, per the HJ, per the fire official. And there's obviously the fire officials are getting more adapting to technology with the compliance platforms out there to make sure buildings are up to snuff and safe for the public. So
yeah, absolutely.
I know we're working on some stuff, and probably not news to, we're going to be rolling some stuff out here soon with BuildOps. Really excited for that. Where, the Inspect Point's obviously big on the inspection side and the compliance piece. I guess where does the whole inspection landscape fit into the overall workflow for a fire life and safety company?
Within the BuildOps platform?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I am so excited for what we've been working on together, because it's definitely been it's been a gap for BuildOps on our side for a while, in terms of just really being able to keep up with the things that you guys do on your side. So keeping up with the right forms, the right inspection information, and then for us to actually be able to pull that into our platform, the deficiencies, track that, dispatch that, create the notifications, and just really streamline that process from inspection into closing out that job. It's incredibly powerful. So yeah, we're very, very excited for that partnership.
Yeah, I think, and just to kind of hit on that, right? Inside of fire life and safety, there's multiple kind of subsectors, right? And the workflows look a little bit different for different ones. And I think there's been a lot of solutions out there over the years that like, oh, this is just a form, right? We just got to put a form in front of a technician. Well, a form for a fire extinguisher is not really going to work, right? A form for a fire alarm technician, yeah, there's thousands of devices. How do you manage that at scale, right?
Yeah.
and then sprinklers in the kind of the middle of that. And that's got a whole different workflow and data and bringing in the codes and what areas you in that have different codes and what officials is it going to. So I think the form solutions have been a band-aid over the years.
Absolutely.
And you guys learned that, right? And I'm glad we're finally kind of coming together and like, all right, let's blend these workflows to get the best compliance and inspection piece to solve a lot, kind of fill in the gap of where that full construction process is.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I remember, you know, my time before BuildOps, my time here at BuildOps, trying to position those forms as the right solution for this. But you're right. Yeah, it's like, I mean, these change from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. They're updated all the time. It's also, then it just turns into this dead digital document that, what do you do with it from there? Then you got to double enter it somewhere else and track it somewhere else. And it's just, it's never been very efficient. So yeah, BuildOps teaming up with InspectPoint has been huge for, letting you guys do what you do best, letting us do what we do best, and then working together to keep everyone as efficient as possible out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, we're gonna solve those niche solutions where it's tough. It's whether it's in healthcare or it's working with some of the manufacturers and some of the nuances of products out there. I think that we have some really good stuff that's come out, but also we have a roadmap we're a niche inside a niche, right? And you're kind of covering all the trades, but how do you get down to that lower level? And it's through partnership. So
yeah, love it.
Anything else on, I guess you guys are a very full encompassing kind of workflow and everything. Where do you fit in this tech stack? Are you guys the main piece of, I guess you have the financial piece, which you may integrate to, may not, but where does your, I guess, overall BuildOps platform sit in the tech stack?
Yeah, when we think about it from our side, we really think of ourselves as the platform, right? We're going after the platform play of, we're going to be your best in class operational ERP. Which was something I learned, the terminology I learned when I came to BuildOps, operational ERP. It was new for me, but it makes sense where we basically do everything other than we don't have a general ledger. So we're going to integrate over to your ERP system. We're going to integrate over to your inspection platform. We're going to integrate to your IoT. We're that platform that's capturing all that information. And then obviously giving you very robust reports and dashboards. We can take it all and digest it and put it into whatever format you need to make it make sense. But we definitely think of ourselves as the platform play, where we're integrating over with anything and everything that makes sense to really, make our customers the most efficient as they can be.
Yeah, no, it's great to finally see something out there that covers that large install side of the business and really focuses on that service side. So, super, super excited. Kind of about where we're going to go with this. And you guys have a great team that we've worked with so far. And yeah, super, super excited to kind of get this going. So usually at the end of the podcast, I throw out some, you kind of don't know what's coming. It's a couple questions. So kind of surprised me with this one. I followed BuildOps for a bunch of years now. And, you guys have this crazy user conference that I've heard about and see all the social media. Have you gotten to go?
Forwards? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some guests that kind of stand out. So I think you had Mike Tyson one year. You had, is it Jocko
Jocko Willenick?
Yeah, Willenick. So where does that come from? And like, I guess what are they speaking about too? I was always intrigued with that.
Yeah, I can tell you Mike Tyson was a wild one.
Yeah.
He's such an interesting guy. And I mean, look, I grew up watching him box. I mean, one of core memories was that fight. I remember my parents bought that fight with him and Evander Holyfield, and everybody was gathered around the TV, like so excited to watch that fight happen,
Yeah.
and it was over in like 12 seconds or whatever it was. I can't remember, where Mike bit his ear.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I think I was young at the time too. My parents got that one. We didn't get many of them, but that was the one we got, and it was kind of funny that it ended so quick.
Yeah, everybody was. I just remember being so upset about the fight, but that was the only thing I knew of Mike, and that basically, you didn't want to be in his way ever. But yeah, it was a wild guest we had on there. He's incredibly sweet, really thoughtful. Basically the exact opposite. What do you think?
Sure.
You think about Mike Tyson, but when we think about our guests at BuildOps, I think we center a lot around our customers and and who we are as a company. So like grit is one thing that we're really big on. It's just like putting your head down, grinding through the pain. We've been building this company incredibly quickly and really efficiently, and it's not been without obviously the struggles you get of like trying to build a company.
Yep.
So Mike fit that mold pretty well, with somebody who was challenged with a lot early on in life, powered through, became a world champion. And so, yeah, having him on was interesting. The topics were very interesting. He talked a lot about his pigeons, his tigers, his pigeons. Like, he's just an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Moving over to Jocko was similar idea. Obviously our company is, I say obviously, it's not obvious for everybody, but it's a play on military, right? BuildOps. Our founder and CEO, Alok Chinani, he is ex-military. And so having some of that military mindset of, just the discipline and the things that the military kind of teaches you around that. So Jocko is a great example of that as well, where, he's heavily obviously focused on discipline, the 4 a.m. wake up calls every day. I don't know if you follow him or not on social media, but it's really motivating. I've tried to wake up at 4 a.m. It doesn't work for me at all. I'm not that much of a morning guy, but yeah, his stories of leadership and, defending the country and all these kind of things, it was just really impactful. We also had Lieutenant Colonel, I hope I didn't mess up his
Title. Yeah,
his title, right? But Colonel Swinson, right, who was a Medal of Honor recipient, an amazing guest to have on there to tell his story about what he went through, and again, all focused around leadership. And it's really it's a fun conference to go to. This year we're gonna have another amazing guest. Can't reveal who it is yet, but it's gonna be big. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna go really well with the people that we work with, right? The people of the trades.
Yeah.
It's gonna be super exciting.
Yeah. I'm excited to see, kind of see the splash of it, and maybe we'll get a partnership invite at some point. So.
Yeah, would love for you guys to be there, 100%.
Well, Glenn, this has been awesome. Thanks again. We've wanted to have you on for a while, and finally get to do it. You can get to put it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll look forward to getting to meet you guys in person soon.
Yeah, definitely. I guess where can people find out? We're gonna splash this out there. So where can we find you?
Yeah, buildops.com. You can go to, you can find me on LinkedIn. Anybody listening, feel free to reach out anytime if you got any questions. I'm always here to be a resource for anybody who needs anything.
Awesome. Thanks again, Glenn.
Yeah, you too, Drew. Appreciate it, man.
Take care.
Have a good day.
This was episode 81 of the Fire Protection Podcast, powered by InspectPoint. Want to thank Glenn again from BuildOps to coming on the podcast and talking about everything construction. He has a background in the trades and kind of learned in the fire life and safety industry over the last few years within BuildOps. Again, super excited to have the partnership kicked off this spring, and excited to see where we're going to head with it. So thanks again for listening. Take care.